passenger though.
Welcome to the Tesla Talks podcast for what is it? The third week? Yeah, the third week or fourth week. I've lost track of July. It's the dead of summer. It's hot, humid, and sweaty here. Luckily, I'm down in the basement. I've got a full panel tonight, and I got a special guest. We're going to skip all the way to the bottom right of your corner here. We've got a special guest tonight. His name is Mark. Mark, thanks for joining us on the show.
Thanks for having me, Dax. Appreciate it.
No problem. We're going to get into what Mark's all about and his little background and history and stuff like that in a little bit. I just want to welcome our other two basically staples of the show, Franklin from the Mother Frunker and Ryan from Nerds for Hire. Nice of you guys to join us tonight, guys.
No, I go by a different name tonight.
Yeah, tonight. Okay, for any of our podcast listeners at home, we have little name tags, banners at the bottom third, I guess you could say. And Franklin has quickly realized off air before we started the show that out of the four of us, he is the one person that hasn't seen the Cybertruck in person yet. So
yeah, unfair.
He's a little sour about it. Yeah, not gonna lie, he's a little sour. But we're trying to get his hopes up and talk him off the ledge. But you know what? You could say that. You could be sour all you want. You're inside a Tesla right now, buddy.
It's true. Yeah. If you caught at the beginning, I think as we were going live, Mark goes, "You're in the passenger seat," so that's where I am.
Yes, you are. Yeah, with the door open, of course.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Don't swivel that chair in the background, though. Thanks for joining me on the podcast, guys. Like I always said, I can't do this by myself. I could, and I might try it one week when I'm lonely and stuff like that, but I don't think it'll be the same. It'll probably be like a 15-minute podcast, and I'll sign off all depressed. Let's get straight to. We've got a bunch of news that we want to get to and stuff like that. I missed it last week. This is the summer schedule where we go every 2 weeks. I think that has been pretty much the schedule I've been doing for the last 4 or 5 podcasts since it's gotten warm in the summers here and we're all busy and stuff like that. So I may stick to it. And then as the weather gets colder and we get stuck inside more, we'll go back to the weekly podcast. So if you're trying to join in and find some kind of pattern to the show, guys at home or girls at home, there is a pattern. It may not be clear, but it is a pattern. But before we get to the news, let's talk to our special guest, something we do all the time on this show. Whenever we get a special guest, we take a few minutes before the show and just get to know them. Just find out, who they are, where they're from, what got them, into Tesla and stuff like that. So without any further ado, Mark, tell us a little bit about yourself.
All right. So I've been in the Tesla community for a couple years on Twitter. And before that, I wasn't super like a ultra Tesla fan, but I had kind of seen like the Model S at some car shows, like the International Auto Show that comes to the Bay Area. So I had seen the Model S, but it wasn't really it's a little too big for what I would want and seemed too expensive for me at the time. But fast forward a few years later, and there's a lot of talk of the Model 3 when it was coming out. I wasn't really looking at it at that point because it seemed like a lot of people, it just seemed like a lot of hype. So I kind of just put that on the back burner. And then I kind of started seeing around late 2018 that there were a lot of deals coming up with the Model 3, like free supercharging.
Oh, yeah.
So then I was investigating that, watching a lot of YouTube videos, so kind of studying the Model 3 for a couple months. And then finally pulled the trigger and got mine in March of 2019, the Model 3 Performance. So yeah, it's been pretty fun, I would say, and kind of been an obsession to some degree with regard to Twitter and or just learning everything about Tesla.
I mean, we all know, anyone that's watching, the four of us can all attest that when you first get your Tesla, no matter what it is, it's exciting and it changes your whole life. Is it safe to say, because I've said this before and I always preface it when I say that it sounds corny to say that it changes your life, but did you feel that it changed your life when you got your Model 3?
Yeah, I would say it's so different than a regular car, like a gas car.
Yeah.
It's kind of a different experience.
Okay.
Like it's so like quiet and fast and just enjoyable.
Was this your first EV?
It was my first EV as well. Yeah, I had a Mazda 3 before.
Oh, I was going to ask you that. I was going to ask what you drove before. That's something I want to start asking people before as they come on, like what you drove before. You know what? Franklin, what did you drive before?
Pontiac G5.
Ryan, what did you drive before?
Integra,
of course.
Dax, what did you drive before?
What did I drive before? I drove
School bus.
No, I drove a RAV4. Yes, a RAV4.
Your other EV, remember?
Oh, sorry. Yeah. What am I thinking? Yes. After the RAV4, I had a Kia Soul EV, which was
Sometimes
my first.
I was going to say sometimes your friends know you better than your.
Right? Thanks, Ryan. I totally forgot that. Yeah, I had a Kia Soul EV, and it was awesome. It was my first entry, putting my toes into the EV waters, and it was great. It was a great entry level. I mean, I would say now if you can do the Tesla stretch, definitely go for a Model 3 or a Model Y. But if you can't, a Leaf, a Soul EV, and what's the other one? The Nero, the Bolt or the Volt. Yeah, they're all good cars to get you into the habit of charging and get you off fossil fuels and stuff. I highly suggest that. So, what kind of Model 3 do you have, Mark?
I have a Midnight Silver Metallic Performance. So it's almost like to the inch, it's almost the same dimensions as my Mazda 3. It has a black interior, which is also what I had before. So the only difference is just really the speed and the technology.
Yeah. Oh, wow. It really, they're inches within each other in dimensions? Yeah. Wow.
I don't know if that's because Franz was the same designer.
Oh, yeah. True. Could be.
That's what works.
How about spacing?
I'm going to interject and say, once again, Franklin is left out because we were all... silver, and he's a red one.
Yes. I see what you mean. Oh, the Midnight Silver. Yes. I was going to say, great choice of color. And obviously, best trim you can get with the performance.
Yeah, I just checked all the boxes.
Yeah, good for you. That's a little interlude there. And you do something. You have a special app we can just quickly touch on, and then at the end of the show, you can tell us more about it.
Yes, I'm a developer, or basically software engineer for my profession, so kind of interested in just learning more about the car. And I already knew it was kind of a large technology car. So I was just kind of searching around online and saw that there's a Tesla API. So then I just started interacting with that and seeing what my car was returning, talking to it back and forth. And then I kind of got curious and started tracking stats from my car. So that kind of led into an app that I'm working on called Tesla Tip. So yeah, I'm just kind of trying to improve my driving experience. And I do quite a bit of road trips to Southern California, which is around like 400, 500 miles.
Okay.
So like 700 kilometers-ish.
Yeah.
And that it kind of, depending on how fast we drive and the elevation, all that kind of stuff, you don't always get the exact range, especially with like not having the aero wheels and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I kind of wanted to know initially, am I going to make it to superchargers and such? So this was able to kind of help me with that.
Oh, cool.
Now I know pretty well how my car works. So
sweet. Okay, that's a good little introduction, a little tease of your app. We can talk more about that later in the show. But any other questions for Mark, guys, before we get into the Elon sphere news?
Now let's go straight to Cybertruck talk. I'm excited to hear from the three of you who've seen it.
Yes. Oh, the jealousy is rampant. Yes. Okay. Well, let's get right into it. Electric. So first place I saw it today, may have broke somewhere else, was talking about Elon, and Elon was obviously tweeting and stuff like that. And they found out that the Cybertruck is going to change, the alloy of it is going to change. So in a nutshell, we remember when we were at we watched the reveal, and they talked about ultra hard 30x cold roll stainless steel for the structure, for the skin. We all know it's an exoskeleton and stuff like that. Well, now there was some kind of talk when Elon was having in conversation, and by the way, that is supposed to be from SpaceX steel. So everyone was excited for all that kind of stuff. And I mean, tell me what you guys think, whether it's still exciting or not, or stuff like that. But let me get to it. They were talking about how he's going to change the method and the forming method and the type of metal to a 304L kind of steel. So I don't know. I'll be honest, not familiar with the 30X cold rolls stainless steel. So I don't know, other than the obvious physical and visual difference in the numbers by 304L. I didn't do my research, because anyone who listens or watches this show knows how much research I do on these topics before we go live. So they're changing it, and some guy on Twitter asked, they're changing it, all the metals on, I think, all their line of cars. So someone on Twitter named Glenn22X, he said, what about the alloy on the Cybertruck? Is that changing too? And Elon's famous in-depth answer was yes. So it spurred up a whole entire article. Now
always does.
Yeah, it always does.
Three
letters or just a one-word thing. Now, tell me what you guys think about this. Is this good news or bad news? Like, did anyone do the research like I probably should have before I came on here yapping my mouth about 304L stainless steel as opposed to 30X cold roll stainless steel? Like, are we good? Is this going to be a better thing, or is it going to still be bulletproof? Is it still going to be hammer or sledgehammer proof, or are they going back a step and we're getting ripped off?
Well, Elon has said that, like, when he releases a prototype, that's always kind of like, it always gets improved upon once it goes into production.
Yep.
So I would assume it's only getting better. Like, maybe, I don't know if it's stronger or maybe just easier to manufacture, but it was still, he said before it was 300 series. So 304, I don't know why that's probably not too much different, I would guess.
It's a higher number. Unless the X was, they weren't sure if they were going to use, I'm going to sound so stupid here. Maybe they weren't sure if it was going to be ultra hard 303 or 302 or 305. And then they just figured out what exactly they're going to use, and they called it 304. I don't know. I'm sounding like an idiot. Ryan, help me out here.
Oh, well, I mean, I know alloys, but like Mark said, I think it's become probably easier to work with, and it's pretty common apparently used in like steel, like pots and tools and stuff like that. So I don't know. Maybe it's just the availability of it. It's easier to work with. That's that.
Yeah. I agree with you. I from what I heard of you, Ryan, your audio is still cutting in and out a little bit. So I don't know if you want to come out of the chat for a second and come back in. Sometimes rectifies the issue. We're going live, so these things happen. I totally understand. I don't blame you. Usually I do blame you for things, but tonight I'm not going to blame you. So I don't know if you want to see what you can do on your end. Maybe, like I said, it works sometimes when you come out and you come back in. Or you reboot your device or something. It's up to you. You can just be a fly on the wall if you don't want to.
Yeah, or am I just cutting out?
You're still cutting out.
I'll be back.
Okay.
So on the topic of the change, Mark brings up a really good point where Elon's always take the stance that what you see. Okay, so often cars that are shown, or really pretty much anything that's shown in like pre-production, always looks really good. And then when it actually comes to production, things get scaled back and things don't look or function the way it was promised originally. Where Tesla doesn't take that approach. Their approach is like whatever they show you, they're going to offer you at least that or something better. So honestly, I don't know much about alloy or metal or anything. It's not my area of expertise by any stretch of the imagination. I just know that Elon wouldn't be making a change if it's for the worse, especially based off everything he stands for. So it's not like this is the first car that, Tesla's a new company. This is their first vehicle. I mean, they've had plenty of cars that we've seen where it's improved drastically from the first appearance, right? So just for the sake of track record and not knowing a whole lot, and just for the sake of Elon's track record, I'm going to go with what Mark said. I'm going to say it's for the better. And I mean, it's a higher number, so you can't go wrong, right? Higher is better.
Yeah.
It sounds dumb, but
no. Well, it can sound as dumb as I was saying earlier. But no, you're exactly right. I mean, I can't see this being a negative or a compromise that like they're settling for something that they couldn't promise or deliver that they promised. So as I scroll down a little bit more for anyone watching at home on the YouTube video, they talk about it. Electric actually goes into more detail and they talk about it. I'm not going to read the whole thing, but they talk about how it's T300 stainless steel. The word I don't even can't pronounce. 18% chromium, 8% nickel, stuff like that. So they go into, like we're all saying, we're not alloy experts here or metal experts, but they go into a little more explanation of what it is. So you can go to the electric.
The one thing
article.
I wonder is if it's going to make an effect or have any effect on cost, like production cost.
Well, I would think, and I'm just thinking out loud here. I'm thinking if they're doing it, that could be another reason that maybe it's cheaper.
Well, I was going to say it's either cheaper, so it's going to be easier to produce, and it's going to give them the same end result, so they're actually saving money, so they can have a higher profit margin, or it's a better material, like we're all saying, because the number's higher, right? It's math. And eventually they're going to have to adjust the Cybertruck prices accordingly, like slightly.
Yeah, well, hopefully, you know, they've always, with all their models that they put out, as we know, they always release the higher production model first and work their way down for, you know, until they get their production to scale, and they bring the lower one out near the end or when they've mastered their production. But they've never really changed the price that they've promised, as far as I know, at least with the 3 and the X and the Y. I don't know early days with the S if they did that, but correct me if I'm wrong for people at home if they have. But they've always been true to their word when it comes to prices. It's one big thing that Elon, I think, strives for is not going back on his word when it comes to price. Some may argue with that, with the $35,000 Model 3, how it was really never, or it was technically, but really never a $35,000 car. We can argue that with all the fudsters and stuff like that, but for the most part, he's stuck to his promises.
No, well, when I said that, I think maybe the price changes over time. So I'll give an example. If you ordered a Y the first day when it was revealed, the price changed like 6 months later, and some stuff went up or went down. It didn't affect people already put in their orders. It only affected new orders.
Yeah.
Right. So that when I said price change, I mean, we might see that eventually where the price does change, but it's according to like all their other cars where they change prices accordingly. Right.
Yeah.
So that's what I meant. Not that they're going to like ramp up the price on existing orders. Right. I don't see them doing that.
No, that would get everyone out of the woodwork. All the haters out of the woodwork saying, "See, I told you so. I told you so." So yeah, I doubt they'll do that. You know what? I think Tesla would sooner, and once again, I'm just assuming this, they'd sooner take a loss on initial production on their cars they put out until they can ramp up production and start making a profit, rather than lose their shirt, rather than raise the price. I think that would be worse for them.
Yeah, definitely.
What do you think, Ryan? I just want to hear your audio. No, I actually care what you think.
Now?
Sorry?
Is it all right now, or is it still out?
Still doing it, buddy. Still doing it. Try this. No, don't try that. Try. I apologize for people at home. Try. Can you just go audio and not put a video out and see if that makes a difference?
Yeah, I guess so.
See if
How's
that makes
any difference.
Can you guys hear any difference?
Cutting out a little bit, I think.
You're still cutting out. Yeah, you're still cutting out. We'll work with it. We'll move on to the next topic. Anyone else have anything? Sorry, anyone else have anything to say about the change in the steel for the Cybertruck?
One thing that I mentioned in the article too is just that SpaceX and Tesla are both developing new materials. So I'm wondering if they're just trying to streamline everything as well. Like SpaceX has switched their stainless, so now Cybertruck just has to.
Oh, good point. That's a good point, Mark. And you know what? Once again, that is what you call, folks, someone that reads the articles, unlike me. So yeah, no, that's very plausible. That makes total sense. I mean, like Franklin said, Tesla is not in the habit of making changes that is a detriment to them or the end consumer. So I think it'll be a win-win.
Before we get off the topic of Cybertrucks,
Yeah.
since we have all three of you here who've seen it and I have not, what's your impression in person? Because obviously you've seen it online. So if you're someone like me, you've only seen pictures of it. You haven't had the opportunity to see it. Is it as big as it looks? Like, what's your thoughts? I know this has been covered like a million times over. It doesn't matter. There's like, okay, Mark, you've seen it most recently. Do you want to talk briefly about that?
Yeah, so I saw it at the Peterson Auto Museum. It was open just for a week or so. So I would say actually it was smaller than I expected, just because everyone had said it was huge. So I was kind of like, okay, is this going to be like as big as the room or something? And it seemed similar to regular trucks. So I didn't notice a huge size difference, but maybe it's just because it's more boxy that people thought it looked larger. But a lot of the photos from people who went to the museum seemed really glossy, and even my photos seem like that too. But up close in person, it actually didn't look glossy at all. So I'm wondering if it just had to do with the lighting in the museum. But it seemed kind of like a brushed metal, like kind of a soft, maybe a little darker silver. So it actually wasn't. It doesn't look exactly like what the photos suggest.
Yeah, no, that's true. I've noticed exactly. I echo exactly what you're saying, Mark. Seeing it in person, and you know, this goes to say about many things, right? Especially Teslas. I never saw the Y until just a few months ago in person. And when you see it in pictures and online and videos and all that, it doesn't do the same justice. It doesn't do justice compared to when you see it in real life. And yeah, it's, in my opinion, when I saw it, and you saw it in the day, which is awesome to see it. We saw it at nighttime. Ryan and I, we went down to the reveal back in November. And correct me if I'm wrong, Ryan, jump in at any time. I thought that seeing it at nighttime with all the bright lights on it and everything like that, it lit it up, obviously. But it had some, it was shinier in terms, when I say shiny, not gloss. I agree with you, Mark. It wasn't glossy like some of the pictures make it look like, but it was very reflective. Like certain angles, because it's so angular, certain angles, it made it look very reflective, like almost blinding at time. And once again, there's bright spotlights probably from every angle at the studio there, so that could have been it. But when it came up on stage, it looked very matty. But when it was driving around doing test drives, and we were waiting in line for those 4 hours, was it 4 hours? Yeah, he just laughs. Yeah, it was 4 hours. Yeah, it seemed very at certain angles, it looked very, very shiny.
Yeah.
So Mark, I noticed on your photos there was like Dax and Ryan never got the opportunity to get the test drive. On your photos, there's rope around it, so you obviously never got to touch it or see inside or anything, right?
So you could kind of see inside, but what I was trying to get some answers to was like, what does the inner door look like? Because that's what a lot of people had been asking about.
Yeah.
And you couldn't see because the windows were so tinted, but you could kind of still see the horizontal screen, and you could see the seat detail and that kind of stuff. But there was too many shadows around the doors, and yet some people were touching it, but you couldn't really go inside of it. You had to be like a couple of feet away. So none of the pictures really turned out taking pictures of the interior. The easiest thing you could see, probably that was the most dramatic, was just the sunroof, because that was like so bright when you looked from a lower angle because it's all clear. So that, I think, in the daytime would really light up the car.
No, it was, for lack of a better word, at least for me, it was pretty striking when I saw it. It's awesome. I fell in love with it. Normally, I would say right away. I fell in love with it right away after 5 minutes, if that makes any sense.
It's definitely a big change to traditional trucks. And speaking of change, city street lights are changing.
Oh, the master of segues. Yes, Franklin, they are changing. And thanks to Teslarati, they put out an article that tells us about it. The Autopilot lane change feature that we have on our Autopilot for city streets, traffic lights and stop signs and everything. It's soon to be enhanced. Now, once again, no date exactly, but Elon mentioned in a tweet that changing lanes, because you know how we can, with Autopilot, navigate on Autopilot, we can change lanes on the highway, on the freeways and stuff like that, or it'll do it by itself on Nav on Autopilot. Well, it won't do it itself, but it'll prompt us to do it itself that it wants to change the lane. Well, now it's going to do it on city streets. And that just goes to show you the advancement of full FSD, how it's getting better. Just, and I don't want to ruin it. Yep. Our next topic, we'll talk about that. We probably should have done this the other way around, but yeah. Where is it? It is, was it a tweet? I think it was a tweet. I can't find it here in the article, but in a nutshell, this Tesla article talks about the traffic light and stop sign control function, how it's maturing. And in a few months, Elon says we're going to have it be actually able to change lanes. What I'm excited about, well, first of all, do you guys find that exciting? Are you looking forward to that?
So, well, I'll go first. I'm a huge supporter of FSD, as everyone knows. However, this is not exciting. I think they have to. It is on the grand scheme of things, but I think they need to change their system dramatically because right now it still uses maps to determine like streetlights and stop signs and stuff. I've been meaning to record it. There's one set of lights that used to be a stop sign, and the car registers as a stop sign rather than lights, just because it's using map data rather than camera feed. So I think that will be the most exciting change that is coming, because that'll fix so many issues all in one go. Yep. So as exciting as these small things are, I think that's the one I'm looking forward to the most. And I don't think we're that far away from seeing that. I think we're going to see that in October, November. And that will be the most exciting thing to come to our car in a very long time, because of how it's a huge fundamental change of how it does things. And I know we're like super far off topic, but this is cool. But I think like we need the next step for this to be working properly. Basically, is what I'm saying. Yeah.
Well, it's baby steps, right? I mean, you're right. It's not the big huge leap, but it's getting there. I found a tweet where he was talking about it. He said someone had asked him basically if asked him something about changing lanes on streets, and he says in a few months it'll be in a production release. He already has it, and it does it in the alpha build. So we all know, or if you don't know at home, Elon in his, I guess it's a Model S. Is it it's an S. Yeah. He tests out the alpha build, basically the latest and greatest one that the engineers put out, and he tests it out. And so he's always doing stuff ahead of us. So if he's been testing out and he's excited about it and he thinks it's good, then they'll do a early release. What's it called again? The
early access program.
Early access program to just a few people, and then we'll see how it goes from there. And go ahead.
Look at all his timelines for all his releases, though, and it all makes sense if you think about it. Every major test release is in like September, October, November-ish. When did he said the full rewrite is coming in like 3 or 4 months. This is coming in a couple of months. I think this is part of the full rewrite. We're going to see this when we see the full rewrite, and the full rewrite is going to be a part of the next major Tesla update, which will be in the fall.
Yeah, I'm holding you to it, buddy. I'm just kidding. I'm really
go ahead.
I'm hoping you're correct, because I'm waiting for that rewrite too. I mean, I think it'll change things. And he mentioned that. He mentioned when the rewrite comes, they'll start turning things on slowly but surely as they prove themselves.
Mm-hmm. And I think this is one of them. Like this is one of the ones he was talking about.
Yeah. What's your opinion, guys? Ryan and Mark?
I'm a little. I don't know if maybe we got too little information to know exactly what they're referring to, because lane changing on city streets, like I know for the highway stuff, Google, like if you were to put that into Google Maps, it would show you what lane you have to be in, or like what 3 lanes you have to be in. And then if Autopilot's using that, then that makes sense. Like there's something to go off of. But I don't know that that's usually the case on city streets. So I don't know how exactly it would know what lane to be in, unless maybe it's just using the cameras. But if it's using the cameras, it might be too late as well. So I don't know how exactly it would know what lane to be in. to make the choice if there's like traffic. So
Yeah.
I'm not sure if he's just talking about auto steer will be like basically perfect on city streets, but it won't be like a I'll do your turns for you type thing, or if he's talking about literally it'll get you in the right lane, but you still have to make the turns.
Yeah, I think that's what it is. What do you guys think? I think that's what it is. Where it'll get you in the right lane. It may change lanes if someone in front of you is going too slow, or you're coming up to an intersection a kilometer away where you have to make a right, and it'll get you in the right lane if it's multi-lane. Whether it'll actually do the lane change, I don't think that's what they're pertaining to here in this article. I think that in itself, I think, is going to be a hard thing to do. There's going to be so many edge cases with that, just changing a lane. Turning a left or a right. I think that's going to be hard. That more than likely, I would be shocked if that comes out before the rewrite. I mean, we know it's possible, but like I said last week when we talked about this, it's probably possible with the current software we have right now, but it'll be probably, I'm hoping it'll be a lot easier and a lot more successful in the rewrite.
Do you think we'll see, like Tesla always does all these features gradually? What's your thoughts? Do you think we'll see right and left together? Or do we think, I personally think we'll only see right turns at first.
Oh, yeah.
And then eventually we'll see lefts.
Yeah, because lefts are harder.
Yeah.
I think lefts would go first because they're more defined. Like if you do a right, you might hit a biker or a pedestrian, but that's not going to happen when you make a left, especially if there are lines on the left turn.
You can still hit people on a left turn, though.
Whenever you're talking about an intersection-related turn, you've got so much potential for pedestrian interaction.
Yeah, I didn't think about that.
There's still cases now, like even that's what I was kind of thinking. Maybe auto steer on city streets just means it'll get better than what it is now, because there's a few wider intersections around me where it kind of has trouble determining what lane it should be in when it goes through the intersection, because it's so wide and there's no lines.
Yeah, and that's where a big red steering wheel comes up on your screen, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Not just for going straight. That's not for turning.
Yeah.
Not to mention roundabouts too.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm waiting because in where I live here in Southern Ontario, I've got tons of roundabouts, especially in the new developments. Like any new development that's coming out with new streets, no one's doing stop signs anymore. It's all roundabouts. So yeah, I'm looking forward. And I think when they do roundabouts, that tells me that they're able to map and track the roadway very precisely, and which in turn may lead to the acing of the left turn. But,
hey, Mark, little coding humor for you. If they get stuck in a loop, it brings up to a whole new meaning.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, if it can stay in the loop for that long, that might be enough.
Okay, I'm changing my name tag to 25% didn't get this joke.
So basically there's loops in coding where it just keeps running over and over. So in this circumstance, if they're stuck in a loop in a roundabout, just keep going around in a loop, literally.
Thank you for that, Franklin.
Yeah, no problem. That's what I'm here for.
Yes. No, but I don't want to hammer this topic to death too much. But when Mark brought up the topic of pedestrians when you're making a left or right, that makes me think. I never thought of it before. Like right now, Tesla, the cameras have to, and the computer has to take into consideration everything on the road, whether it's cyclists, pedestrians, everything. Now it's going to have to take into consideration things on the sidewalk, and depending on how far the sidewalk is away from the curb and the roadway, I mean that's going to get tricky, because say there's a kid running on a sidewalk not looking for cars and running because they've got the red light and they can cross the street, or a cyclist on a sidewalk and they're going and you're trying to make a right-hand turn. If that car doesn't see it, it's game over.
There's also can you hear me okay now?
Yeah. Don't jinx it.
There's also the interaction too, right? Like some people, when you're making a left, they start walking and they stop halfway, and then they'll wave you on. They'll say, "Okay, you go ahead." How does the car?
Exactly. Yeah, true. That is very true. My wife.
And so.
You see, you jinx yourself. Now you're breaking up a little bit. My wife told me a story just a few weeks ago. She was riding a bike going through an intersection, and if she didn't stop and let the car go, the car would have hit her. And I've always told her, I've always told everyone that when you're on, whether you're walking, you're a pedestrian or a cyclist, and you're coming up to an intersection, always try to make eye contact with that driver. Because if you don't make eye contact, you're just assuming. And if they don't see you, terrible things can happen. So always try to make eye contact. But you're right. With a fully autonomous car, what are you making eye contact with? The camera?
And I think it's too on the moving targets too, because I think we saw in Andre's video that it can identify people with stop signs, like holding stop signs. So it knows kind of what that is, but that's pretty stationary. But once you get to moving people, like I've seen some cases where there's a biker in the bike lane, which is fine. But then when my car is coming up to it, it doesn't know exactly where the person is. So it starts slowing down, even though it doesn't need to.
Yeah.
Because it can't pinpoint exactly that the cyclist is in the bike lane versus in the road. So maybe the rewrite will just give it more processing power to make it more exact on where the people are.
Yeah. Well, it's exciting times, and with every update, I mean, what this will be an interesting question for you. Well, maybe just for me, maybe not for people at home. What software version are you guys on currently? Don't say you have to check, Franklin. You should know this. Ryan, I know you're on 24.6.9.
Right.
Yeah. Mark?
24.6.9.
Yeah.
I've been on that one for quite a while, and the last few pushes, everyone's been moving to that.
Yeah, I was on the 26.4. Sorry, the 24.6.4, and just yesterday or the day before, I went to .9, and obviously, from what everyone's discovered, and if you're at home and you haven't discovered it yet, it's basically a bug fix if you're already on the 24 version. But there is a new version coming out that is in the loop. And this article you see on your screen is from Drive Tesla Canada, our friends there. And it's 20.28.5. So they've gone from 24 to 2028. A month later, I guess, because correct me if I'm wrong, guys. These dots go by month, right?
Or the second number is the month of the year.
Is the month, exactly. That's what I thought. And then the third number is just a revision. So they're on 28.5, and in that one, it actually enables. It's a few little things, but the big thing is that now we don't have to do the exact speed limit when we're on city streets for the traffic lights and stuff like that, and the stop signs. We can actually go back to how we had it before with the 5 miles over or the 10 kilometers over. So it's a small thing. Getting back to what we were saying earlier with Franklin, it's a small thing. It's baby steps, but to me, that's a big thing, because I don't know about you guys, but doing the speed limit, it sounds bad for me to say, but doing the speed limit drove me nuts. And in my opinion, was a little dangerous, because I don't know about the States. I can only assume. But here in Canada, doing the speed limit, even on city streets or the highway, can be dangerous, because nobody does the speed limit.
Everyone in the United States, I'd say as well, especially California, people go 10 miles per hour over. So this is only 5 miles per hour, but still, that's considered slow, but it's not as slow as the speed limit.
Yeah, and I'm totally comfortable with that. I'm in Canada.
I was laughing. You know how bad my city is. Like,
yeah,
my city, the average going speed on the highway is like 30, 35 over.
Oh yeah,
like you're doing 135 and 100, and that's just like normal speed. Like everyone does it, right?
Yep. And for people at home, I'll have you know, the city that Franklin is from has the highest insurance rate in the country. If you reside in that city,
I can confirm
the highest premium. Yeah.
Yep.
And for a reason.
Well, they told me, they're like, once you hit 20, your insurance is going to go down. Oh, yeah. And they're like, I hit 20. They're like, once you hit 25, your insurance is going to go down. Now it's once you hit 30, your insurance is going to go down. So I'll find out next year, but we'll see.
Yep. I heard the same thing too. Also, for all you Model S and X owners out there of a newer Model S and X, in that release also, Elon tweeted out that your charging speed is going to go up to 250 from, I think it was 225 or 220 is what it maxed out at. So in order for them to get that, they increase the size of the wiring and stuff like that, and the cables and stuff and things like that. Now it doesn't do. He very quick to mention that it doesn't do the 1,000 miles per hour charging, and that's only because of the size of the battery and the speed of the charging. But it does the power, does the 250 kilowatt. So that is big news. In my opinion, there's a few other changes in that software. I think that one's the one where you can turn off the passenger HVAC too, if there's no passenger in the seat, just to make it a little more efficient, I guess, which is good. My Kia Soul had that in an eco mode where I could turn off all the vents and just have the vents that pointed to the driver's cockpit area, and only that worked. And that made a big difference, believe it or not, in the wintertime. So, and that was a 2015 Kia. So it's good that they're using the seat sensors and they're able to work that out and bring that small but cool little feature to us. You guys have an opinion on the new software coming? Okay.
I'm a little confused about the air thing, because I guess it makes sense if there are people in the car, but if you were to turn on your air from your phone, and no one's in the car, does that mean it's still just the driver's seat? Or
sorry, say again?
Like if you if no one was in the car and then you try to turn on the air while you're like walking to your car from your phone, would that turn on all the vents or just the driver vent?
Oh yeah, no, I think I would. I'm assuming here, Mark, but it's a good point. But I'm assuming that it's gonna blast, like if it's got to cool down the car in the summer or heat it up in the winter, it's gonna use all the needed vents to warm up the cabin to the desired temperature or cool it down to the desired temperature. And when and only when you open the door and you sit in that seat, it's gonna turn off what's not needed. Because I'm pretty sure it does that for the back. Don't quote me on this, but for the Model 3, I think when you're cooling it down, for example, and the cabin is hot in the summer, it cools it down. It uses the back vents and everything. And then when you sit down in there, I think the back vents go off. Anyone at home, if they can confirm or deny that, I'm assuming. I'll be the first to say I'm assuming that, but I think that's how it works. Oh, by the way, folks, anyone listening at home live, or sorry, not listening, watching, or even listening at home live on YouTube, as we're streaming this live on Tuesday night at 10:46 Eastern time. If you got any questions, anything you want us to answer, or any, that saying, no question is a dumb question. Or I think I butchered that saying, but some along those lines. If you have any questions, throw it down in the comments, and we may not get to it right away, but we will get to it. We have Franklin busy as a bee there monitoring the chat sessions, and if you have any questions or you have an input or a comment while we're talking about a topic, get involved. Let us know, and if it's a worthwhile comment, and if I'm able to see it as I'm talking, I'll throw it up on the screen there for everyone to see, and then we can discuss it further.
At the worst, we always get to it at the end. So if we don't get to it right away, don't worry. I keep track of all of them. So
he does. He writes it down
in my head.
Head.
I remember everything.
He's like an elephant. Moving right along, we have two more topics we're going to touch on, and they are, as I bring them up, right here. Yeah. Oh. Model Y. We haven't talked about the Model Y all night, which is surprising because usually by this time we talked about how the production is going so terribly and the quality issues and everything. We're not touching on that tonight. We'll maybe touch on it later. But leasing has finally come to the Model Y. Now, when I say finally, I shouldn't say finally. It's not like we waited a long time. Actually, if anything, I think it came pretty quick. Correct me if I'm wrong. I think it came quicker than it did with the Model 3.
Way quicker.
Yeah. Yeah, so now this is only U.S. leasing. I don't believe, Franklin, let me know if I'm wrong, or Ryan, I don't believe that it's here in Canada yet. Do they even have a leasing for the Model 3 in Canada yet through Tesla?
No.
Okay, then it definitely wouldn't be for the Y in Canada. So $499 a month in the U.S. Now, like I always brag about, and I always show off, that I didn't do the research here yet. I didn't read the full article. By the way, this article is brought to you guys by Inside EVs. So all I know, it's a Sorry. Okay, I thought it was $499. Okay, it's $499 for 36 months with $4,500 down at signing, and it's a 10,000 mile per year lease. Now, what I don't know, and maybe it's further down, and I'm too lazy to scroll down. Is it like the Model 3, where at the end of the 3 years you got to give it back? And
Correct.
there's
Yeah,
no option to buy?
it'd be the same. Yeah.
Exactly. Okay, because they want their fleet, right?
Yep. I want the fleet too.
Yeah.
I know how they feel.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, no, it this time around it's much quicker. So during the same production of the Model 3, I think they're only still making maybe like 20 or 30 a week at this point. Of the 3. Like, it took them a very long time to ramp up to what we have. So the Y's ramp has been like ridiculous. So seeing leasing this quick is actually like a positive thing, because they're actually able to ramp up production much faster than before, right?
Yeah. And that's, as we talked about before, that has a lot to do with just the way the car is so similar to the Model 3. And all the mistakes they learned from with the Model 3 and the Model S and X, they moved on to
Yeah.
Go ahead, Mark.
Thanks, Franklin. Didn't Elon say that the body shop is like 30% smaller for the Model Y? So that must make it a lot faster just in general anyways, just to build it.
Exactly. That rear end, the casting, the 2-piece casting, probably saves production a lot to do that. And I've heard that they're closing down the factory in Fremont for a short period of time. I don't know exactly how long, because they're upgrading their equipment to make that casting from 2 pieces into 1 single piece. So that's gonna, have some kind of production efficiency, I'm sure.
Okay, so since we're on the discussion of production, what would it be? I guess in March, April? No, yeah, I don't know, Mayish, whatever. Whenever I posted the last time that Tesla called me about the production of the rear wheel Tesla Model Y, I guess it is. Sorry, okay. So they called me about the Model Y, and they said, "Hey, you should get in the next month or 2." And obviously, that didn't happen. And I was very clear on on which model they were talking about. And I must have asked the guy like 5 or 6 times. He probably thought I was crazy. I didn't know what I was buying or whatever. Because I was like, "You sure it's the rear wheel drive? You sure it's the rear wheel drive?" And long story short, I got a call yesterday saying, "Hey, are you ready to take delivery on your rear wheel drive? It should be here by the end of the year," is what I was told. So I actually got them to send me an email this time around, because the last time around, I tweeted about it. People were like, "Yeah, you must be lying," or whatever. Like, I have no reason to lie. I'm just passing on what I'm told, right?
Yep.
And this time around, I actually got an email about it and all that, which is cool. But they are looking to deliver rear-wheel drives by the end of the year, and they did try to upsell me on an all-wheel drive. So the first thing he goes is like, "Hey, are you in desperate need? Do you need your car quicker?" I'm like, "No, I have a 3." I didn't tell him my whole plan is like, "Hey, these are just for Robotaxi. There's no rush," right? But
back of the line for you if you said that.
But he did say, like, if you need it quicker, you should get an all-wheel drive. He goes, like, if you have to call us, just give us a call. We'll help you get into the how did he word it? Like, the proper car for you. So they're definitely like trained to try to it's a
salesperson lingo.
Yeah, it felt like that, where like, I know Tesla's not big on the whole sales thing, but they know if you're already interested in the vehicle, all it is now is like upselling, right?
Yeah. So,
but anyway, the rear wheel drives are coming. I've been told by the end of the year is when I should be ready to take delivery. And that's my story from yesterday.
Nice. That's exciting. Well, what's the difference between the rear wheel and the all wheel here in Canada? $7,000? Six or 7?
From when I locked in, plus FSD with the price increasing, I'm still looking at when I calculated last, it's about 8.5.
I don't remember when it was, but didn't Elon post like a week or 2 ago or something about that there's not going to be a rear wheel drive standard, but there'll be a rear wheel drive long range?
Correct. Yeah.
Yes.
So that might change.
Did we?
Yeah. Does that change the price?
So my price hasn't changed because my price isn't a pre-order. It's like an actual It's like an actual order of a vehicle. It's not a like wait in line thing like the 3. So I already picked out my full build. Like I have an actual purchase agreement with Tesla that they have to honor. So even though they got rid of the standard range Y, like mine will still exist.
Maybe that has to do something with the price lowering as well. So it'd be easier to transition those into the long range.
Yeah, I think so.
That wasn't one of the topics that we spoke about tonight, but I wanted to talk about it, but I figured so many other people and so many other podcasts have talked about it, about exactly what you guys are talking about, how the Model Y went down in price, and they basically announced that there is going to be no SR Plus.
Right.
Or standard range, but there's going to be a long range, and the long range is going to have a significant increase over 300 miles. So that was exciting. And then Elon alluded to something to do about pricing. Someone asked him about pricing, and he did one of those wink, wink, nudge, nudges. Like, I'm not supposed to be saying this maybe, but it's going to be. So yeah, I'm hoping so too, because I was one of those people that I was waiting for if I am going to get one for my wife, I was waiting to get the standard range, because I just figured we don't need 2 cars that go 300. But if they're going to bring the rear wheel drive in a standard range or close to standard range price, obviously it's going to be a no-brainer for people. But something interesting when you're talking about how your price is locked in, Franklin, I was listening to a podcast, Tailosive EV podcast, and those guys were talking about, by the way, I got to get Tailosive on the podcast soon. We're in talks. They were talking about how it happened. I think it happened with the S and the X, but I definitely know it happened with the 3, and now it's happening with the Y, where it's like, if you get the beginning, if you get like one of the beginning car or the first production cars, you've locked in that price, even though if FST has gone up and everything, you've locked it in and everything. But then if you just wait, in this case, Model Y, 3 or 4 months, then the price drops. That it didn't matter if you had pre-ordered back in last March and locked in your price, because now it's almost as cheap, if sometimes in some cases, if not cheaper, to get the discount and then pay the extra for the increased FSD, and you're still on top. You're still coming out on top.
See, so the way I see it for my circumstance, because I want to use it for a robotaxi, I want the most energy efficient vehicle possible.
You're going to do what?
Is for a robotaxi. So I want the most energy efficient vehicles possible. So these 8,500 or whatever it is for difference that I'd be paying more for an all-wheel drive doesn't actually make financial sense, because that kind of cuts into my return of an investment. So yeah, that's just how I'm thinking.
So sorry, what you're saying is you wouldn't be interested in a long range?
No, I'm interested in long range, not interested in all-wheel drive.
Oh yeah.
Like the benefit doesn't make sense. Like it doesn't make sense to pay more.
No, you don't care about the people that are driving it, their safety. You just care about the money about it. Yeah, I don't blame everybody. Yeah,
that's right. It's still safe, Dax. What are you trying to say?
I'm kidding. Hey, the 3 of us have rear-wheel drive cars. We don't have the only Mark's the one with the all-wheel drive, and ironically, we're the 3 of us in the Great White North, and we can say that. Or at least I'm going to speak. I don't want to speak on behalf of you guys. I'll speak for myself and say the rear-wheel drive car is fine in the winter. Like I can't believe how many times I've had to tell people, no, it's totally fine. You put a good pair of snow tires on them, and you're totally fine. Would it be better with all-wheel drive? Of course, yeah. It definitely would be a little more stable, but that doesn't mean that the rear wheel is unsafe. I was just totally kidding about that, Franklin. Ryan?
Yes.
Are you? We talk so often off air, friends and stuff like that. But I don't think I've ever asked you. Are you interested in the Y?
Oh, definitely. Because I have 2 kids.
Oh, so that's right. Yes.
I was thinking of getting it because I was hoping it would be a lot bigger than the 3, but apparently the back seat is maybe 1 inch to 2 inches, maybe
wider.
So it's not a huge. But I mean, my wife's in the market for a new car, if the lease comes to Canada, maybe we'll get the Y. I don't know.
Yeah.
I told her either way, her next car has to be an EV. So
Yeah. Have you seen one in person yet?
no, I have not. No.
Oh, speaking of which, though, I just found out today through some friends that there's some locations here in Canada. I don't know down there, Mark. It's got to be if it's up here in Canada that are offering test drives, and the testers are performance ones. That's pretty. Yeah, I mean,
all of the showroom ones in the Bay Area pretty much are performance.
That makes sense, right?
I had a coworker drive one, and he doesn't need one ASAP, but he wants a Tesla eventually. So he said after driving it, it had basically the same defects as expected. Like I think it was around probably VIN 11,000-ish. So he just I'm just gonna wait probably at least 2 more quarters until it's dialed in, and then I'll consider pulling the trigger.
Makes sense.
Because they never offered test drive models for the Model 3 so early. Like to get the test drives for the Model Y right off the bat, that's pretty good.
Yeah. Once again, it shows the progression and how faster they are, how more advanced they are in their production and everything than the Model 3 at the same time.
Okay, can I share a quick story now?
Moving on.
No, let's do quick stories. So, talking about test drives, my next door neighbor, like directly beside me, is looking for a new vehicle, and he likes bigger vehicles, right? He's like a taller guy. He likes the bigger size vehicles. So he's loved my Tesla for the last 2 and I don't know, quarter years or whatever it is. He's loved my Tesla. He's always ranting and raving, but he's never actually been inside of it. So I actually gave him a test drive finally in it, and he was like, "Wow, this wasn't just a vehicle to save money. This was the coolest thing I've ever been in." So now he's actually looking to get a Model X just because of my test drive.
Does he need a referral code?
I'll let him know you have.
I'm kidding. I'm totally kidding. No, that's cool. So once again, this isn't the first time. For people at home that don't know Franklin, he is an ambassador in Canada, at least in Southern Ontario, for Tesla. You've given so many test drives and so many talks. Sorry, let me bring you off full screen there. So many talks to random strangers and people that just walk by that you've sold. I'm sure, I don't know what the count is, maybe you're keeping count in your head, but you sold a good portion of Teslas.
Well, I don't even I have, and I don't push my referral code. I normally tell people to go online and just type a Tesla referral, and there's one of 100,000 they can pick from people spamming. Another one was Mark, the backseat baller, and I were at a park a couple of weeks ago. We're playing with spamming. We're playing with his drone, and it got stuck with signal or whatever, and we came back. We're like, what are we going to do? We started playing around with Smart Summon, and it was 2 parking lots. We just started playing around with Smart Summon, and the number of people who stopped to look at it, at one point, both our cars were in between 2 other cars, and the owner came running over. He's like, did you hit my car? I'm like, no. We're just playing around with our remote control cars. He's like, oh, that's a Tesla. No, I trust Elon Musk. So he's super cool about it.
If it was one of you 2 dummies, he would have been happy. Trust Elon.
Yeah. But long story short, we met a couple that was actually interested in buying a new car. And the wife goes, wow, this is the best thing that's ever happened. We actually got to meet you guys. And we give her a full rundown of everything the car can do. And now they're actually going to be buying one.
Awesome.
So that's just from using Smart Summon inside of a park just to have fun, right?
Yeah, it just goes to show you the small little things, right? Yeah, and if you got time, because all of us that drive Teslas, whether we want to admit it or whether we know it or not, we're ambassadors, right? We're ambassadors to Tesla. Why do you think Tesla doesn't spend 1 red cent on advertising? Because we're the idiots and the people that do it for free. But we do it happily and willingly, right? At least speaking for myself.
Well, I think their features speak for themselves too. So just the things that it can do, it's not normal, really. There's nothing else that can do what it can do.
I'll tell you, in one of the shareholder meetings, one of the votes was the recommended vote was to vote against advertising.
Oh wow! Recently or a while back?
Yeah, recently. It came in my shareholders documentation, upcoming vote. It said,
cool.
that recommended do not vote for advertising. So
Wasn't one of those votes too by some shareholder guy to get Elon off the board too?
it was
Yeah, there's some guy that's doing this, and every vote year or every year it comes up for vote, he always tries to get, and it goes nowhere.
Yeah. But yeah, no, Mark's right. The car is easy to sell because of the features that it has.
Yeah.
So like the fact that I can have my car driving around a parking lot by itself and play around with it like it's a jumbo-sized RC car. Like that's
Crazy.
what sold them. It's not me. Like I'm not a salesman. I just really enjoy tech and I really love my car. And I love talking about my car. So the car itself kind of sold itself to them, right? So
tell them, like I have a similar story. Last week, actually no, earlier this week on Monday, I went to a customer's house and he had seen my car before, but his wife had never seen it, and he told her to go outside and check it out. And they had just bought an SUV, and she looked at the car from a distance, right, because of social distancing, so she couldn't actually sit in it or anything. And I just showed her some of the features, and then when I was reversing, it was making no sound, and she was like, "Wow, that's so incredible." And I just got an email today from him saying that his wife's now interested in buying a Model 3.
There you go.
The car that they just got, the SUV.
Oh yeah, they're gonna take a hit on that one, but you know what? For a good reason, right?
So we have a question from Philip. With Giga Berlin bringing new paint colors, what would each of you want to see come as a new cool color? As a cool new color. Mark, you're on the hot spot.
Yeah,
what color do you want to see?
You're a guest, so you go first.
So I really like Tesla Tino's car, and he got that
Oh yeah,
black color, but it's like some dark purplish color, and it has like a high gloss on it, and it looks like you mentioned, it looks like it's wet in person, so it looks really sharp. That's kind of the color I would want to see.
Ryan,
Yes.
what's your thoughts?
That's a tough one. I like what I've been seeing a lot of them lately on different cars. Like I've seen it on a Ford F-150 and on an Audi as well. It's like that wet kind of gray finish. It's like a glossy gray.
like a pastel.
Yeah,
Gray?
but it's yeah, exactly. It's pastel, but it's very shiny.
Is that
Yeah.
the Nardo gray?
Yeah, it's like that. I think he's talking about the same one. Yeah, Volkswagen has it too, right?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I like that color.
Yeah,
Dax, what's your thoughts? Color.
this one right here.
Oh, you took K. I was going to say yellow.
Actually, that's not even the right tab.
You have a Corvette up, sir.
Yeah, I've got a picture of a yellow Corvette. You know what? I've seen some people have got their Model 3s wrapped in yellow, and it looks good. But I've always liked yellow. Funny quick story. I used to have a yellow car. I had a 1988 Honda CRX, all done up and everything. It was originally red, and I painted it yellow myself. No, I didn't paint it myself. I got it painted, and it was very similar to the Corvette yellow. And I got so many compliments about that car. It looked sweet.
How long ago was that?
That was probably in the early 90s, mid 90s, I want to say. Yeah.
Perfect for taxi, robo-taxi.
So I want to wrap mine yellow. The only reason why I never did is because I can't change the color of the car inside the screen, like on the screen. And my OCD would be triggered because I'd see like a bright red car knowing that it's yellow on the outside and the colors don't match. And it's just a software update. Like, let us fix the colors of the car.
Well, they've done that now with the rims.
Yeah.
In one of the most recent updates, they've done it with the rims. It's these small little things that you'll never see on a traditional car. Like,
do you know, if you look up Model S cartoon car, it's the car from Borderlands. Someone did it, and it's yellow, but there's like shades within it, and it looks cartoon, but it looks really flat from every angle. The car looks absolutely ridiculous.
wow.
So I was also thinking about doing that to mine, but with all the shades of red. So I want it like a flat looking red from every angle. But the quotes I got were like ridiculously high. So
wow.
Wraps on other cars, they're funky looking.
The wraps?
Yeah, that make the cars look like a cartoon, like an animated.
Oh yes, where they show the shading and the little lines.
Yeah,
that's what I'm saying. Yeah.
Oh, that's what you're talking about. Okay, yeah,
Yeah.
yep. I've seen that on a Model 3. It looks really cool.
Our buddy Moss just got a wrap.
Yeah.
It's Battleship Gray is what it is. His car is the perfect getaway car right now because if you look at it in person, it is gray. It's all 100% gray. If you take a video or a photo of it, it looks white. And I've compared it right beside a white one, and it doesn't matter what angle, how much sunlight, flash, no flash, dark, it doesn't matter. It always shows white in photos, but in person, it's gray.
Is it color shifting?
No, it's just Battleship Gray, and it's just really weird.
Wow.
It looks wicked, but
You're right, because I saw the unveiling video, and I'm like, what's so exciting about this white car?
But it's not white.
No, I'm telling you, you look at it in person, it's like night and day different.
I apologize, Moss. I haven't seen that video yet. I knew he changed color, but I haven't seen the video. I gotta go check out the video.
Yep.
So
his rims look amazing too.
So just to end off, folks, I know anyone that's watching at home or is looking at this title of this YouTube video, and it says what is the title again? It's
the $1.5 million Tesla.
Yeah, so 1 point, and you're wondering after an hour and 6 minutes, like, these idiots haven't said anything about this 1.5 million. What are they talking about? Dax is drunk again. Well, I'm not drunk. I just saved it for the end, and it's not a huge news or a huge article. It's just something I saw, and I thought I'd throw it up there. Don't ask me why I titled the podcast that, but I thought I'd throw it up there. There is a original Tesla Roadster that someone in Europe is selling for 1.5 million. They're actually selling it for, where is it here? 1.39 million Swiss francs, which works out to be $1.5 million. And I'm assuming that's American. Now, this Roadster, what makes it so rare, I guess you could say, and why it's fetching this, whether they'll sell it for that price, who knows? But that's what they're asking. But if they do fetch it, it was manufactured in December 2012, and it has the elusive VIN, and I'm reading this. This is from Teslarati, this article. The elusive VIN of 2,500. And why, you ask? Okay, well, that's just a round number. That's why they want so much. Well, no, 2,500. And it also has low kilometers. It has 200 kilometers in 8 years of existence. But you're asking why it's the what's the big deal with 2,500 VIN? It was the very last Roadster ever produced. So it's the very last one ever made. That's I could see why he's asking that much. Will he or she get that much? Who knows?
I'll start a GoFundMe. You guys gonna support?
Yeah. Did we try that for Ryan a while ago? Gonna go very far.
Yeah. Sorry, Ryan.
I know you guys are.
So like I said, we don't have to get in deep conversation. We don't even have to mention give our opinions on it. I just thought it was. If you're watching at home, there's some pictures of it. It is a white Roadster. It's got the carbon fiber on it and everything like that, and it even has a doily, like some kind of protective doily on the steering wheel. So whoever bought this obviously bought it, especially with the kilometers on it, with no intentions to drive it much, just to keep it as a collector's, and then one day sell it like he is now, 8 years later. 1.5 million. If you guys had the money, would you buy it?
I would not buy it just because there are some of those Roadsters around the Bay Area, and I mean it's in the museum too, the Peterson Museum.
Yeah,
they're not impossible to find, and like there's a little bit of maintenance required if you're actually going to drive it. Like it's a little harder to get the battery serviced and that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
and the Model 3 is cool, so I'm happy with my car.
Yeah, no, I hear you. I just thought it was unique and so does the owner, obviously, with that being the very last car ever produced, and for him to keep it in such pristine condition.
See, I think it depends on how much money you have, because I know someone who collects cars like this, just because he has so much money he doesn't know what to do with. So he collects cars like this just to hold on and in hopes that the value continues to go up, and then he sells them when they do, right? So there are people that will pay this amount of money for cars like this. Maybe not this one, but like if let's say the price was a little lower, he'd probably buy it in the hopes that it does go up over time, or maybe he thinks it will, right? So there will be a buyer eventually, right?
Yeah, I'm sure it is. There will be, like
Yeah.
anything else, right? Just to get back to Philippe's question about the colors and all the stuff that we gave, his answer, he thanks us for our answers, guys. And his answer was he'd like to see a fairly bright green, not a lime green though, but a bright green with deep highlights when it shines in the sun. So thanks for that question, Philippe. This is near the very, very end. We're going to take another minute or two. You did yours already, Franklin. This is the time of the show where if any of you guys, any of my guests or myself has anything test related, a little cute little quick story that is, like I said, is test related that you experienced in the last week or two since we were on last. I'm opening up the floor for anyone that wants to tell a little story about a little Tesla thing a little encounter or something. So if you guys don't have one, I have one, a little quick little thing, but it's only like 30 seconds. So if you guys have one, I don't want to put you on the spot if you don't, so you don't feel like you have to. But
I have a quick story. So
sure.
A couple weeks ago, there was a Tesla meetup, Tesla owner Silicon Valley. So I got to meet Kim Paquette, who's on Twitter.
Oh yeah.
So Zach, Black Model 3.
Oh yeah, Zach.
Well, they had both traveled pretty far to go to the factory. And then we got to try also the burritos from Best Coast Burritos afterwards.
Yeah.
Which is also one of the owners of Tesla Owners East Bay has that restaurant. So it's actually quite a big turnout. And 40-ish, 20, yeah, exactly. 20 to 40 people.
Thanks, Chad.
And everyone had masks, so it was fun.
Oh, wow. Cool.
Yeah, the photos of that event were amazing. Like, my whole feed was just filled with burritos and just so delicious. I loved it.
Yes.
Yeah.
We here, speaking of meetups and speaking of social events and things like that, here in Southern Ontario, as of Friday, today's Tuesday, as of Friday, most of Ontario, the province of Ontario, is going to go to phase 3, where we're allowed to have 50 people, gatherings of 50 people inside and 100 people outside. So the Facebook group I run for the Model 3 Canadian group, so many people in the GTA have been asking me, when are we having a meetup? Because we had like 2 or 3 last year, the year before we had it. So I guess everyone's conditioned, everyone's bored, everyone's cooped up and everything. So everyone's asking when we're going to do a meetup. Now that we have this phase 3 going, we still have to be responsible and do the mask thing and everything like that. But there may be an opportunity soon, folks, that if you're listening at home and you're in the GTA and you want to meet up and have a little Tesla, a little Model 3. It doesn't have to be a Model 3, just a Tesla meetup. We'll be putting something together very, very soon. Well,
it's in the works.
It's in the works. I shouldn't say very soon. Soon. Ryan, you got a story for us?
It's not really Tesla vehicle related, but it's more along the lines of, because tomorrow is their earnings call.
Yes.
It's a big day. So if Tesla's profitable, this will be the 4th time in a row, and it's one of the criteria to get S&P inclusion. And it's not a guarantee that it's going to happen, but if they are, profitable, it's a possibility. So that being said, I had a friend of mine who was dying to get in on Tesla, and he ended up buying 2 shares.
Good for him.
I mean, it's expensive, right? Like he bought it at like $1,500.
That's like $4,000 Canadian, right?
But yeah, it's like $4,000
to get 2 shares. Yeah.
So that's my little story. And then he was like telling me to buy some more so I could, we could all suffer tomorrow together.
Oh, you know what? He may double his money. And I only said I know nothing about it. I think you had to explain to me last week about the importance or the validity of this S&P thing. But if anyone is like me and knows nothing about the stock market and doesn't know what this is about, listen or go watch Zach and Jesse. They did an episode of Now You Know this just yesterday. They released the July 20th episode. And Jesse in there talks about, Zach in there talks about the ins and outs, and he explained it in plain English and made a lot of sense of how and if they qualify for the S&P, what can happen and how. It's very, very complicated, way over my head, but it made sense that it could skyrocket. and some analysts are saying it could go up to easily 2,300 per share.
Yep.
So so it's exciting. Yeah. We didn't touch on the earnings call because that's tomorrow, and we could sit here and speculate and forecast all we want, but we'll have to wait tomorrow. When is it? It's after the closing bell, right?
Yeah, it's 5:30.
5:30.
But I think some of the hints dropped by Elon, like the fact that they were selling shorts.
Yeah.
And also he mentioned something about it was razor thin the break even. So I don't know if that means they broke even or they were under breaking even or if they're over. You couldn't really say too much. That would be more violating.
Yeah. He's got to be careful.
Real quick, I think it's the most shorted company in the history of companies right now.
Yeah, it was, and it still is. Yeah. Oh, I never like to see ill will of people, or people that do bad, but I really love to see when these shorts lose their shorts. My quick story. We're gonna end off because we're at an hour and 15 minutes. I don't want to belabor the whole Model Y quality issues or anything anymore. I've talked about it in the last 2 or 3 weeks, made a couple videos about it and stuff. At the end of the day, it's still the best car Tesla makes. It's an awesome car. These little quirks and issues will get resolved. But I saw a blue Model Y. It was a dual motor. There was actually 2 of them. One of them was a 24,000 VIN number, and one of them was 25,000 VIN number. And these cars were near perfect. I'm not making it up. I'm glad to say, I almost said I hate to say, but glad to say that they were near perfect. There was one little paint blemish on the rear right side tailgate. Near the taillights. It looked like there was some dust underneath the clear coat or within the paint. It could be fixed, but the alignment, and like I've said, anyone who knows me before, like I've said before, I don't care about panel gaps or anything like that, guys. It just doesn't bother me. But these 2 cars I saw, the panel gaps were great from my uneducated experience. The charge port that plagued the white Ys that I saw 3 Ys, and they all were. And I've spoken to, and I've seen some other videos of some other white Ys. I don't know why it was white. It was just the white ones for some reason had the charge port misaligned. This one on the blue one was perfect. It was a perfect car. Other than that little blemish on the back, I would not have turned it down. It was a near perfect car. So they are getting better. They're at 25,000 VIN. So, or they were at least. They're probably
one last thing I want
to
touch on is Kimberly Beck said, "I'm watching for my mom's sake. She's 81, wants a Tesla. I'd love to buy her one. Yeah, if you can do it, go for it. She'll love it, and she'll be much safer in it. I'm just going to throw it out there. If you care about your mom, buy her a Tesla.
There you go.
Yeah, that's for safety. For safety.
Yeah, it's the safest on the road.
It really is. Yeah.
Yeah,
and she'll love it. Yeah. Don't worry about all the tech. The tech doesn't matter. You can drive it as a traditional car anyway if you really wanted, and you still get the benefits of the safety of the vehicle. So, sorry, Dax, to cut you off. I just wanted to make sure we cover that.
Yeah, no, I was at the end of my story anyways. But yeah, no, for some reason on my control panel here to see all the comments, sometimes it freezes, but I didn't catch Kimberly's at the beginning, but now I got it there, and I just flashed it up on the screen there for everyone to see. Thanks for watching, Kimberly. Thanks for everyone that's watching, and then anyone that's listening.
Before we go, I was going to say one thing.
No, I wasn't going to go. I was just thanking people at the same time. But go ahead, continue.
No, one thing on your comments about the production issues with the Model Y, I would say that it all probably has to do with Tesla just trying to meet numbers, right? Trying to hit 90,000 deliveries. So most of the stuff that was that people were complaining about can be fixed after production. So they probably said to themselves, let's just get these out the door and we'll deal with the issues after the fact, because most of them would have been fixed in production, but because they have to get them out and delivered, they probably said, you know what, we'll eat this one and we'll just meet our numbers. That's what I would think.
No, I think you hit the nail on the head. That is exactly what happened. Now, the only argument that can be had there is when you buy an $80,000 car or $60,000 car, should you have to make all these appointments afterwards with Tesla service to have these issues, nagging issues, fixable issues, but nagging issues fixed? That's like I said, when we talked about it previously, so I don't want to dwell on it. We'll just end it off here. Before we go, Mark, can you tell us a little bit more about your app in a nutshell? Elaborate a little bit more than what you mentioned at the beginning, and then tell us where people can find you.
Yeah, sure. So my app is at teslatip.com. So teslatip.com. Basically, just to gain more insight into your car. So it tracks some stats like your drives, your charging. It lets you see actually the raw data coming back from Tesla, so you can kind of get a feel for what data the mobile app has access to. So it's kind of interesting. And then I've also started adding some stats that are aggregated across users. So nothing personally identifiable, but things like the update version, or just to see the breakout of like models that the app supports right now.
Sort of cut you off there. Is it Tesla Tips or Tip?
Just Tip, yeah, singular.
Tip.com?
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, continue. I just wanted to throw that up.
Yeah. So right now it's free for all users. It's still kind of in beta testing. So probably longer term, I'll have some kind of like maybe $5 charge or something for the site. But right now I'm still trying to kind of make sure I'm covering all the use cases. So I do have like Model 3s, S, X, and Y. So I'm pretty confident that it's it's pretty bulletproof right now. And special shout out to Franklin. He made a YouTube video on it. So that's also really great if you want to check out how it looks before signing up.
It's like I've experimented with so many of these, and I make videos with all the different ones. Honestly, it's my favorite one so far, just because the interface is so simple and easy to use. So, non-paid advertisement, by the way. Like Mark gives me nothing to say this. I just really enjoy the service, right? And he does a great job. So, look forward to see how it grows. And if you follow his Twitter account, they tweet out when new updates are spotted. And I think for the last 2 updates, he was the first Tesla data aggregator to actually tweet out the newest updates. So
cool.
The cars that are on his fleet that are part of his thing are getting updates first. So if you want updates first, join Tesla Tip. Yeah. Right? You heard it here first.
And did you I was looking for your site, so I apologize. I missed if you mentioned where people could find you.
Yeah, so you can find me on Twitter at codingmark, here in my name tag here, as well as just on teslatip.com. And yeah, you'll probably see my posts on Twitter if you're following the Tesla community.
Cool. Well, Mark, thank you very much for taking your time out of your busy schedule of coding and stuff like that, and just life in general, for joining us on this silly little hour and a half podcast. So thanks very much for coming on.
No problem. I would be in the comments if I wasn't on the show. So
yep, that's true. You would. Ryan, where can people find you?
Nerdsforhire.com and on Twitter at nerdsforhire.
Yes, and Ryan, I don't thank him enough. Ryan is a hardworking moderator at my Model 3 Canadian group on Facebook. That's where you can find me. And on the Model Y group, I got a Canadian Model Y group. I also have a Cybertruck group. Look for me under Bailey MC on Facebook, and you can find me there. Because I know Franklin's going to ask me. That's why I beat him to it. Franklin, where can people find you?
Mother Frunker on YouTube and at mfrunker on Twitter. And tune in for the next one, either next week or the week after. I have a special surprise for all the viewers.
Tune into your channel?
No, to our podcast.
To the podcast, yes.
Yeah.
Oh.
Special surprise
Look
for all
at
the viewers.
This. You are leaving people with little teasers and cliffhangers, man. You've done this before, haven't you? You know, you're an expert at this. Yeah. Well, folks, you have to listen to what Franklin says. I don't even know what he's talking about, but listen to what he says. Join me here next week or the week after. Like I said at the beginning of the podcast, now that it's summertime, we're tending to do them every 2 weeks. So as the schedule permits, it looks like it'll probably be in 2 weeks, roughly around Tuesday or Wednesday. Just follow us on Twitter or YouTube here or Facebook, and we'll announce it and we'll post it when the show's coming on, and you can check it out live. And if you don't want to check it out live, you can listen to us on the podcast on Apple Podcasts. My lights just dimmed there for a second. Apple Podcasts, TuneIn Radio, Google Podcasts, and what was the third one? The fourth one is Spotify. We just added Spotify. So check us out there, folks. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Thanks for your time, folks. We will catch you later. Bye-bye.
Yeah.